One of our brethren some years ago spoke of the payment of tithing as fire insurance. Nonetheless, the word of the Lord is clear that those who do not keep the commandments and observe the laws of God shall be burned at the time of his coming. For that shall be a day of judgment, a day of sifting, a day of separating the good from the evil. I would venture a personal opinion that no event has occurred in all the history of the earth as dreadful as will be the day of the second coming, as fraught with the destructive forces of nature, as consequential for the nations of the earth, as terrible for the wicked, and as wonderful for the righteous.
While we are powerless to alter the fact of the second coming, denied by the wicked, stakes of Zion are for a defense and for a refuge from the storm and from wrath when it shall be poured out without measure upon the whole earth.
Travis Winkitzel. There's a story parable of the drowning man. It circulated by televangelists in the 1980s, and I even heard it at General Conference. It's kind of intended as a joke against Protestants, but it's where Alabama got their angels among us, that God works through man rather than God doing the actual miracles. And it goes like this, little something like this. Devil went down to Georgia. He was looking for a soul. Anyway, since I ruined that, a storm descends upon a small town, and the downpour soon turns into a flood. As the waters rise, the local preacher kneels in prayer on the church porch, surrounded by water. By and by, one of the townsfolk comes up the street in a canoe. "Better get in, preacher. The waters are rising fast." "No," said the preacher. "I have faith in the Lord. He will save me." Still the waters rise. Now the preacher is up on the balcony, wringing his hands in supplication, when another guy zips up in a motorboat. "Come on, preacher. We need to get you out of there. The levee's gonna break any minute." Can't remember the lyrics of the song. Bye-bye, Miss American Pie. Once again, the preacher is unmoved. "I shall remain. The Lord will see me through." After a while, the levee breaks, and the flood rushes over the church until only the steeple remains above the water. The preacher is up there clinging to the cross when a helicopter descends out of the clouds. It's supposed to be Jesus. A state trooper calls down to him through a megaphone, "Grab the ladder, preacher. This is your last chance." Once again, the preacher insists the Lord will deliver him, and predictably he drowns. Presbyterianism is not true. Or Pentecostalism. Pentecostalism is the religion that is joking with. A pious man, the preacher goes to heaven. After a while he gets an interview with God, and I hear the pearly gates with Peter. And he asked the Almighty Lord, "I had unwavering faith in you. Why didn't you deliver me from that flood?" So yeah, you can see Noah's Ark in this. And thus Matthew 24, "As the latter days, so shall it be in the days of Noah." God shakes his head. "You dumbass. What do you want from me? I sent you 2 boats and a helicopter." It's had variations depending on who's saying it. So I had a Christian who I knew wouldn't last long on my channel. Sure enough, she tells me to be silent. She's trying to censor me. She doesn't want me to warn my neighbor of the coming flood. She says, stop producing evil propaganda 9/11 minute video. Duh. I mean, duh. You're the duh beaming mode. Get a grip, man. They will fall into their own pit. It is written. Really? Is it from Psalms or Ecclesiastes or the Assyrian book of Ishtar, the goddess? Which one? Do you know the origin? Ishtar? I'm not going to tell you that it's the book of Esther, because you're not worth it. And I won't tell you that Mordecai is the god Marduk, because you don't believe. And it's where the Jews get their yearly holy day of Purim. Nope, because you're a Christian. You don't believe in the Jews. You're a white supremacist. Stop freaking out and actually trust God. Ta-da! She must be a Pentecostal. And to add the cherry on top, she says, I live in Utah, by the way, and I'm not scared. Meh. So the original title of this video was going to be something like... come on, where did I put it? Oh, are you kidding me? Don't remember where I put it. Oh yeah, Mormons are up Wolf Creek without a spiritual witness. It's right there. Because there was an earthquake in Wolf Creek today at 3.7. Or yesterday, last night, 6 p.m.-ish. And so instead, the video is going to be more like LDS Mormons would rather drink Drano than be saved. Apparently, that's what's used in meth, not just fentanyl. Or heroin. Is it heroin or meth? Doesn't matter. I escaped from the shelter. I never want to go back. And people lost their jobs because they failed to keep me hostage. So, yeah. That's the whole point. Any Mormon who refuses to believe the warnings are likewise setting themselves up for failure. They do not believe anything other than God will magically save them. And so I need to bring up he was Apostle Gordon B. Hinckley in that talk. What was it, 1984? Can't remember now. In which he talks about tithing. But he doesn't say tithing is fire insurance. Did you notice that? I told you this was going to be homework. You're going to be quizzed. I told you. I warned you in advance. I gave you plenty of opportunities. He says another person said that tithing is like fire insurance. And he used it at the pulpit of conference. He didn't dismiss it, he didn't deny it, but he didn't claim it was from him. Do you understand and know why he wouldn't do that? Because it's a crime. It's called a protection racket, where you, as a person claiming to do business, are threatening other people's lives and demanding they pay you for protection. It's what the mafia does. And thus, RICO has been implemented in the United States of America just for such an occasion. And guess which former president, whose presidency election was rigged by Russia, has been indicted for RICO recently. The church cannot come out and admit that they're committing crimes. Until Nelson. I've done all these videos for you guys, but Mormons refuse to believe. It's the whole thing about Ensign Peak Advisors. The whistleblower comes out and says the church is committing crimes. They're violating tax law. And the IRS has certain rules and guidelines in order to be a 501c3 tax-exempt status. You can't just be a religion and therefore you're exempt from paying taxes. There are requirements beyond just being a religion. And one of many, a couple of those, is that you cannot hoard money. And two, you can't hoard money to spend it on Armageddon. But nope. Nelson came out in response to the whistleblower and said, yeah, that's exactly what we're doing. We're violating the laws of the land. We don't care. We're not going to stop. We're just following the Bible according to our misinterpretation, Parable of the Talents. It's about saving people from Armageddon, not hoarding money for Armageddon. And so the church, earlier this year, after the April conference, had Bednar come out and tell the people around the world to come to Zion. And so I exploited that. Because this is it. This is the final year. The bicentennial year of the second vision. This is what I'm doing videos every single day, all day, for the whole year. And Christians don't get it. Mormons don't get it. They want me silenced. They don't want to be saved. They'd rather drink Drano. And so the church after finding out through the spies that I have on YouTube, retracted it and said, stay where you are. It's just so sad. And that's what we need to discuss here. Because the scriptures tell us, first of all, we'll do this one. In verse 23 of section 39 of the Doctrine and Covenants, that those who get baptized and then get the gift of the Holy Ghost shall be looking for the signs of my coming and shall know me. Behold, I come quickly. These are time and date referencing. It doesn't give us a date, but it assumes that the signs tell us about a date. Christians say, nope, no man knows the day or the hour, and so do Mormons. And so the dates that are given in Scripture are overlooked, because Mormons and Christians would rather believe no man knows, because it says so. And yet, it also gives us the day and the hour of the dates. I knew I should have written it down or gone to it or something. I forgot it. And so if the church, oh, that's it. Section 45, of course, the parable that Joseph Smith gives to Mormons about Mormons, and because he says Jews, because it's a parable, Mormons think, oh, it's the Jews, I don't need to worry. Oh my God, Mormons would rather drink Drano. And so talking about Zion, and it shall, let's see, glory of the Lord shall be their place of, we got to go up further. And it shall be called the New Jerusalem, a land of peace, a city of refuge, and a place of safety for the who? The Jews, right? The saints of Jesus? Who's this Most High God? Most High what? Confusing. Just put Jesus. I mean, it's not like it's the sun at noonday. That Joseph Smith refers to the two personages and then to the guy that claims to be Nephi, but he's wrong, so we had to correct him and call him Moroni. It's not like he's Emmanuel, our Christ, in the learning of the Jews. And so the glory of the Lord shall be there, and the terror of the Lord shall be there, insomuch that the wicked will not come unto it. And it shall be called Zion. And it shall come to pass among the wicked, that every man that will not take his sword against his neighbor must needs flee unto Zion for safety. And there shall be gathered unto it out of every nation under heaven, and it shall be the only people that shall not be at war one with another. And it shall be said among the wicked, let us not go up to battle against Zion, for the inhabitants of Zion are terrible. Wherefore we cannot stand them. And then there'll be songs and singing and drama queens. Drama, drama, drama. So what then is the church doing by not telling you? If Zion is Utah, Salt Lake City, Temple Square, and it's about to happen, and Hinckley said it's going to be severe, and Mormons must obey, and Oaks says you can just go to the stake centers and you'll be protected. But also that it's a fact. It will happen. We can't stop it. Our positive spiritual witness feelings of prayers can't stop it. Church already paid for it with your tithing money. Of course it's not going to be stopped. It's going to happen and it's going to get ugly. And yet, Mormons, like that Christian, believes we don't need to listen to the warning voice. We don't need to hearken to our Christ. Because Jesus will come during the war and save us. Oh my God. It's like you don't even bother to read the scriptures. You just make up your own scriptures. I'm reading from the epistle of Dan. Well, let's use a non-biblical name. Jesse is also a biblical name. Everybody's got a biblical name. Can't get away from it. And so Joseph Smith. Mormons would rather drink Drano than believe Joseph Smith. Joseph Smith warns you. Hey, it's coming, the day that shall burn as an oven. But says that they, meaning Mormons, who would not hear their Christ, will be utterly destroyed. And instead he uses cut off. He makes you study your scriptures to learn that that's from Micah, and that's in Malachi, and in other locations in the Book of Mormon. But then there's utterly destroyed. Because the abomination of desolation, yeah, it's not like, oh, yeah, you can no longer be a member of the church. You're a foolish virgin, and so you don't get to come into the temple wedding. No, this is, you're dead. That's why you're not getting in. This is a real event. And we know that the church lies to us, and thus they have no authority. If you remember Jason, who likewise doesn't believe Joseph Smith, doesn't even believe he's a translator. And so the church knows this. They know these scriptures. They purposely, maliciously get them wrong. And they purposely, maliciously don't tell you. They're not interested in saving your lives. And that's what I was kind of wondering. Is because Joseph Smith tells us they're going to flee. They're going to abandon you while you get destroyed. And that's in another parable of Joseph Smith's. And the church manuals say you're the ones who are going to flee. And it's clear you'd rather drink Drano than flee. So verse 51 of section 101. The enemy came by night, broke down the hedge, and the servants of the nobleman arose and were affrighted and fled. See, the manual says that's you, Mormons. And the enemy destroyed their works and broke down the olive trees. Who are the olive trees? Must be the 12 apostles, even though there's 15. Couldn't be the 12 tribes of Israel, which would therefore be Mormons. And the servants who are supposed to take care of the Mormons are the prophets. What is the cause of this great evil? Well, my first cause has a first name. It's Lucifer. So why won't you listen, Mormons? Is it really too hard? And so there, we know about a spiritual and a physical. This also is comparable to a religious and a government. And so, yes, I'm well aware of a religious or spiritual religious destruction of the great and abominable church, and the same group will attempt to destroy the United States of America. But the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints say they're the cause of the destruction of the United States of America. And so I thought, so is the church going to destroy Utah? Because clearly, Utah is going to be destroyed, according to Joseph Smith. And so, knowing that's the date, 9/11, and Joseph Smith had to keep it a secret, you had to do your research to figure it out. Just like you had to do your research to find out you're going to be utterly destroyed, rather than just cut off. There are some issues, some feelings we got to talk through. What is the church up to? Are they going to destroy their religion to rise up with Lucifer's religion out in the open? Because they've destroyed the wicked Mormons, who are upset and sensitive and snowflakes about the inverted pentagram on the keystone of the doors of the Salt Lake Temple. They got the hardcore Mormons who go around as white supremacists attacking everybody who don't believe their lies. The true followers of Lord Lucifer. Or are they going to claim to be the one true safe place in the whole world? That's what Governor Herbert intended to do for Utah during COVID. He got everything all set up, had a team in place. Lieutenant Governor Cox at the time was placed in charge of it. They were all ready to go. And then the one Utah on that cruise liner that was docked at Japan, because they were trapped on the yacht or the cruise liner because they had COVID. Japan didn't want them in their country. You stay on that ship. And so finally, through negotiation, they were able to helicopter out the Utah, among some others, to the Air Force Base in Travis Air Force Base, right near my birthplace in Berkeley. And eventually Utah arranged to have him transported to Utah, but not to the University of Utah, where they do testing and research, because the University of Utah would go on to be among the many who were trying to find a vaccine for the virus, because that's what they do there. That's why they're the Cancer Institute. It's because they do actual research in medical science. Whether or not they're doing it for a paycheck or to actually save lives, because if they found the cure for cancer, then there would be no need for the cancer center, now would there? How many billions have gone through there? Still no cancer cure, huh? Still doing the typical old stuff that is known not to work. Sounds like a crime to me. But nonetheless, they said no. Instead, they sent them to where pregnant women go. The Mountain Meadows Massacre Hospital. With their emergency services. Now, why would they put them there? And sure enough, the people transporting them did not wear proper protection. Nor did they provide proper protection at the hospital. And so there's lots of traffic going through there. And yes, causing the spread and escalation. And it just happened to be at the tracks, train, and bus hub that goes throughout the whole valley. And a certain person finally figured out how to serve the church without the judge doing anything. And so he was a regular frequenter at that hub. So yeah, that whole group set ready to go didn't do a damn thing. And they didn't bother to listen to the medical professionals. And then Nelson threatened the governor. Open up the state so that we can hold church. Healing power of gratitude, right, YouTube? So yes, I'm well aware that the church wants you dead. And will murder you, hoping to get to me. I wasn't supposed to get this apartment. They were pissed. And I was warned by others who had been victims of the church, who sued them. There was a lawyer on the East Coast. She'd lost her career because she sued the church. She was paid by her client to do it. And the church sought revenge on her and destroyed her. And so she warned me. I already knew how evil the church was. I found their receipt for what they did to me. Their attempted murder, and they paid the hitman. Hit woman in this particular case. And so, because they controlled the courts here in Utah, federal courts, as well as everything, I lost. I didn't even get to file a petition for redress of grievances. And the church came after me. And they got me sent to the shelter for 9 months. And I was supposed to stay there. I was not supposed to get out. And on the very day that I did get out, which I wasn't supposed to get out, they shut my laptop off to use the internet. The shelter had had enough of me. They were going to hold me hostage and keep me silent. And so, yes, the 2 women who failed to keep me there lost their jobs. The same one that Gail Miller is in charge of, by the way. So yes, it makes more sense now, the Gail Miller money laundering for the church. And so, because the church wants us dead, they sent my brother after me, after the 2 women failed and were fired. My brother failed. But Oakes seems to indicate that he wasn't fired. With his youth, 16-year-old youth, get married now, devotional. But nonetheless, I'm expecting the church to come after me. But 9 or 11 days left. The church has been silent. This whole time. This whole year. Conference. Nothing. They won't talk about it. They won't even continue the lies about it. Nothing. They won't do it. They won't touch it. They won't mention it. They did try for 2020 with that bicentennial. But this one? And I can understand, because the Joseph Smith Papers exposes them as liars. And so do they come out and continue the lies, knowing that they come out and finish the Joseph Smith Papers this year? As they know, there will be some Mormons, not just me, who might refer to the Joseph Smith Papers about the second vision if they talk about it being the bicentennial year. And then they'll go, wait a minute, you're still lying to us when you told us the Joseph Smith Papers are now the authoritative source. What's going on? And then people might put other clues together like I did. Oh, we're the learning of the Jews. Oh, the date. 2 sets of 9/22, which is 9/11. And it's in the Doctrine and Covenants, section 64, written on 9/11. And so it's weird. And maybe that's what it is that the church has plan A, and plan B, and plan C, and plan D. So that if I ruin plan A by warning everybody, and people listen, they have plan B, and C, and D for each one that I ruin. And so, yeah, I got an email wondering if people should evacuate before Saturday. You did watch that video, right? You're still listening, right? You'd rather drink Drano than listen. And that's what I've realized here, is that the 9/9 cannot be from the church. It's not one of their plan A, B, C, D, or E. This is a God thing. I've done the videos because I found the dates of the latter days way back in 2017. And so, when Monson died, yeah, Revelation chapter 12, verse 3. And knowing that, I decided, hey, I wonder if other presidents of this church also had solar eclipses or signs in the heavens. It was lunar eclipses first, because it was a lunar eclipse for Monson that I thought. It was also solar. But, so I went and tested. See, I'm an anthropologist of the ancient Middle East. I know of the ancients. Modern scholars don't know how it works and thus don't believe it, and therefore have never put it to the test. They know of the story of the old Assyrian king who went to war against a far eastern country and inquired of his priests if the signs in the heavens were a good omen for him to go to battle. And they said yes. And he went to the far land, and in the middle of the battle, Jesus came. There was a solar eclipse. Which, yes, this is a pattern of the latter days. And yes, Christians and Mormons think, yes, Jesus is coming in the midst of the war. Ezekiel 38. It's in the chapter heading by Bruce R. McConkie. That's what Hinckley tells you. That's what Oakes tells you. Jesus is coming in the middle of the war. In the middle of Armageddon. In the middle of the Abomination of Desolation. And so, yes, Joseph Smith tells you the date. 9/11. And so, yes, the king, by the way, he was upset with his priest. He said everything was fine. I'm supposed to die now because the sun darkening means the death of the king and the kingdom. That's how they understood it. And then after he murdered the priest, the new priest helped him figure out, no, it's because we're out in far east. This is a different thing. Oh, oops. And they had a whole replacement for him for a day and murdered him because they knew of the connection between the signs in the heavens and the events on earth. And so knowing that story, and knowing that not a single scholar who knows that story have ever tested it to see if it's legitimate, because they don't believe it's legitimate. How could it be legitimate? That's stupid. The king, he forced it. Who cares if he actually won the war and thus did fulfill it? And so Faust dies. Way back in 1997. In connection with a lunar eclipse. And so immediately, that old Assyrian story came to mind. And I went, okay. Cool. Works for moons, too. For religion. That's pretty wild that it's connected to a Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints prophet. He had just barely his last talk, which is edited out by the church. You thought the Pullman scandal was a big deal. Faust, in his final talk before his death, added into his text a warning to the 12. Do not go against the prophet. Do not come up with your own doctrine and commandments to Mormons. Because that had been a problem, in case you hadn't paid attention. And then he's dead. And sometime later you hear Oakes talk about how all 15 of us have to be agreed in order for anything to take place. Any changes, all 15 have to agree. I thought the president was the head of the church and whatever he says goes. Will that change when you become president, Oakes? Mm-hmm. And so I kept testing. Hinckley dies. Yep. Lunar eclipse. Monson. Lunar eclipse. So I went, okay, let's test them all. Yep, every single one, lunar eclipses. Some had 2. I used science with the claim. Because if it's going to work through science. And it did. It's an established fact. Every single president of the church from Brigham to Monson died under a lunar eclipse. Not on the same day. I gave a 1-month period of time, but doing it, there were some exceptions. But they all fit within parameters of error. And then, sometime later, after doing that video for you, I then thought, let's try solar eclipses. Sun shall be darkened, moon turned to blood, stars fall from heaven. So yes, hint as to where I'm going next. And so yes, sure enough, every single president of the church from Brigham to Monson, sun shall be darkened. And some had to. And so knowing that the 2 eyes are the sun and the moon, for Peter, seer in Egyptian, I'm making all these connections. I'm learning and I'm trying to share it with you. And so yes, stars fall from heaven. Did that too. Sure enough. Yep. Every single one, stars fell from heaven at the same time. And that had to be on the day. Not a plus or minus situation. And so thus I kept doing videos for you about the signs in the heavens as I was making connections with Bible stories. And Mormons fulfilled prophecy that they would rather drink Drano. 3 Nephi chapter 1. 2. Mormons would stop believing in signs in the heavens. Stop looking. Or I told you, that's your requirement as a Mormon. Once you're baptized, once you receive the gift of the Holy Ghost, you're supposed to look for the signs in the heavens to know of the time that is coming. So even those who plant fig trees, because the scripture uses that in Matthew, they already know when the fig trees are going to blossom. They already know the day and the hour. It's not some mystical thing. Oh, I wonder if it's going to be this year. They know. They've been doing it their whole life. And their parents before them, and so on and so forth. They know. And so, the sun shall be darkened, moon turned to blood, stars fell from heaven in 2014, 2015. Perry Packer Scott. And that was weird because I didn't have Google search yet. I had just gotten free from the first captivity of the church on me, holding me hostage for 6 years. My life has been destroyed by this church. And they've kept trying to murder me, hold me hostage. They don't want me to leave Utah. They just want me silenced, held captive, and dead. They don't want me to get away. They don't want me to flee. They don't want me to get out of Utah. Just go away. If you don't like it, leave. Nope. They've got to control my life. They will not stop. And so thus, knowing this is the last year, knowing this is the bicentennial year of the day that shall burn as an oven, that has to happen before the millennium, which is 8 April 2024, and Joseph Smith telling us 9/11, I can see the church is leaving me alone because they know something's going to happen to Utah. Physically. And so that's what I think, is that because they failed with me, it's no longer Utah is going to be the only place that will not be affected by what's coming. Just like with COVID. They had to hurt me, to silence me in that lawsuit. Because it was right after I filed that he came to the wrong hospital. And that Governor Herbert was stopped. Yes, he was responsible for other crimes that took place. But I've been keeping track every single day now. Still waiting for them to get to today's weekly report. Coronavirus.utah.gov. And yes, I am well aware that it is increasing in Utah, as I'm hearing on the news that it's increasing throughout the United States. And it's a particular variant that is immune to the vaccines, and thus the rise. As the church used it as a weapon against me this whole time, and at the shelter, they got me. They were trying to murder me. They almost succeeded. I was sick that final month or so. Every single day. And it was just getting worse. That shelter needs to be shut down. It is a health violation. The cops won't do anything. The shelter won't do anything because the church is giving the orders. And so that's what seems to be the case, is that now Utah is going to be a part of it. Because I don't think they're going to do it everywhere else and not Utah and then go, see, Travis, it wasn't us. We are the true Zion. Because I've already gone over the prophecies with you. I did the video. If Joseph Smith is either right or wrong, it doesn't matter. The church is wrong. If he's a prophet, that means the church is the great and abominable church. If he's wrong, the church is still wrong because they don't have authority from a true source. They claim Joseph, but Joseph is wrong. He's a false prophet. So you got your authority from a false prophet? See, they're in a conundrum. They can't get out of it. They set it up. They ruined themselves with Brigham Young. But their whole point is not to get away with it, but to deceive and hold out until 9/11. Laundry has the seat cushion towel. Plus, this is an hour long already, and it doesn't matter. You guys aren't listening anymore. You'd rather drink Drano. But 9/9, it's not part of Nelson's A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Because I told them they can stop it, they can change the date and fool me. That's why Joseph Smith had to try to encode the date for us. Because if the enemy found out that Joseph knew and was telling everybody, they would have changed the date long ago. Because no man knows. But we do know the first and the last day of the latter days, 2017 to 2024. And so if it's ruined now, well then when? What's the next date if it's not 9/11? And so that's why I think they're not concerned now. They're just going full steam ahead. And oops, I got a whole ton of views. Oops, YouTube failed. But they never seem to fire him. And so, yes, the 9/9 is similar to all of the prophets. Sun shall be darkened, moon turned to blood, stars fall from heaven. Because Nelson can't choose when he's born. Nelson can't choose what his name will be. Can't choose who his parents are. Same thing with Emmanuel. He can't choose his name. He can't choose his parents. He can't choose their names. He can't choose his nativity and his birthplace. Those are already prophesied. And so nobody can, fake it and create it. You either are or you aren't the antagonist or protagonist of the latter days. There's no way around it. That's a higher power. And I hesitate to say God because all of you don't believe in the learning of the Jews. You replace it with Christian. Like that Christian did. Just trust in God. They'll fall in their own pit. Well, yeah, the Book of Mormon says that too. About the great and abominable church. But it's not just, whatever happens whenever it happens. No. Joseph Smith tells you, you need to find the date. You need to listen to your Christ in the learning of the Jews. Not Jesus. Jesus isn't talking to you. He's an idol god of your own creation. Well, my Jesus says that this interpretation of Scripture tells me you're an ass. Oh yeah? Well, my Jesus will beat up your Jesus. And so, yeah, I'm paying attention to Hales and Holland as I'm going over the notes to see if I'm finished. We're not. Hales dies 8 days after 23rd of September 2017 from Revelations chapter 12. And so knowing that Perry Backer Scott were involved, I didn't realize it at the time, but now, as I found the pattern, it's a reverse pattern. Solar eclipse, 23rd September 2017, from Scripture prophecy, and then Hales dies 8 days later. 33 days, 8 days. Now we have 9/11, scriptural prophecy, Abomination of Desolation. 33 days later, 14 October 2023, sign in the heavens, solar eclipse. Over Utah, in Virgo, the bride, the church, from Samson, from Scripture. The fall of the great and abominable church is all in these signs here. And so 8 days before, to fit the reverse pattern. Holland is the only one that we know of that is potentially a candidate for death in our Deadpool. It was an awesome Clint Eastwood movie, not the Deadpool superhero of Marvel. And so, yes, I'm paying attention to the 3rd. That's 8 days before. It's Sunday. And it can't be the 1st. 3 days before. Would it be the 8 days before the 9th? Because that's not the pattern. it ruins the pattern, because then it becomes 35 days rather than 33 days till the solar eclipse. So it has to be 9/11 in order for the pattern to work. But if Holland doesn't die at all, then Hales isn't involved in the latter days after all. But that would be weird, because like I said, there is a connection with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and the signs in the heavens, for the latter days especially. So we wait on that. But it would be the higher power that's in charge of this. Not me, not anybody on earth, because nobody else knows about it but me. And you're not even listening to know about it, to fake it. Or to prove that Joseph Smith is a fraud, and therefore the church isn't true either. And so yes, with Faust and Hinckley, I saw that reverse pattern. That's how I recognized it here. Because their deaths were a reverse pattern. It was really cool. I did the video. And so 9/11 is going to be caused by man, even though it's a fulfillment of scripture prophecy. Because they're the ones who's causing it. Like Joseph Smith said, they that come shall burn them. Not God, man. But 9/9 would be God, if it's going to be the prophecy of Scripture about Sodom and Egypt and the Philistines and the Romans and etc., etc. Yes, Jesus fails. And it just happens to be his birthday with the 9s. So yes, I'm seeing patterns. So regardless of whether Nelson is planning to destroy the church or not, God has made his promise. And thus, the sign in the heavens overnight last night. He is going to keep his promise. The great and abominable church must be destroyed in a last-ditch effort to try to save Mormons. Because you're not listening to me. You'd rather drink Drano. And so, if it's by God, it won't be nuclear. God doesn't do nukes. Could do a solar flare. That's been happening. It's been shutting out radio transmissions. Saw that in the news the other day. But no, stars fall from heaven. It's very clear. But sure enough, on Nelson's birthday, stars are falling from heaven. It's the Perseids. And so it's symbolic. But whether it's going to be actual meteors, which is kind of rare. I mean, we have them, but they're not actual damaging stuff. They just are light shows in the sky that burn out, getting into our atmosphere. It'd have to be something big. And there's nothing that we know of by astronomers that is something big enough to come on the 9th. And we've got the thief in the night part. So is it in the middle of the night when it's going to happen? But in this scenario, I have a chance of survival. And knowing my past of how God has miraculously freed me from the church, saved my life multiple times, I am confident that I will not be destroyed on Saturday. Unless somebody wants to be evil, which we have those here in Utah. There are people who are stalking me, who looking for any kind of reason to murder me. To prove the church is true. Okay, so I can get rid of that one. Fugitives. So, that's what we're looking at. You know, I see in NCIS, because that's also on the note, we're already at 110 minutes. You're not listening. First responders, not just NCIS, they have lives. They spend money on things. But when the call comes, it doesn't matter if they've just spent the money for a date with a blonde who's only interested in their money rather than them, or Hot Wheels, who says you can't talk about work outside of work, but there's a case that's bugging you, and so you pull a Close Encounters with your mashed potatoes. That's the episode I just watched before this video. You know, first responders sacrifice their lives to save you. That's me. I have sacrificed my life to try to save you physically, not just get you out of the church. 10 million of you have already done that. That is something I need to go over, isn't it? And I didn't. So where should I put it? Should I put it on the back of this? Or should I do a new thing? Church membership. Okay. And so, yes, I want to live my own life. I don't want the church trying to murder me. I don't want Mormons attacking me. I don't want to have to do videos. You know, I did the Jonah and the whale video. I don't want to do it. You guys don't want to believe me. You'd rather drink Drano. But I have to. I'm the only one who knows this information. I'm the only one who can warn you. And I would be criminal if I didn't warn you. And besides, Amos 3:7, prophets aren't doing it, so guess who is the prophet? And yet Mormons refuse to see it. They don't believe. They'd rather drink Drano. Because me in my life, you know, every day I'm checking the stock market, because I'm pretty sure we're going to have an event on that Friday before the Monday. Of those who know. Just like before 9/11. There were members of Congress. And of course the government didn't pursue it. It was silenced. But people profited off of 9/11. And so yes, people are going to profit off of this. It's called insider trading. You know what's coming, and so you do accordingly in the stock market. Oh, we're about to go live on the stock market? I'm going to put a whole bunch of money in. Oh, it's about to go under? I'm going to pull out my money. Yeah, it's insider trading. It's illegal. It's only a $5 million fine. Right, Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints? They got caught with insider trading. Mormons don't care. If we just don't report it. And so, yeah, I checked the stock market. I checked the debt, national debt. There's a site for the national debt. And I'm keeping all these records, along with your comments, your hate comments. I know who's been naughty and who's been nice. I'm keeping a history of the people of the latter days, and a history of the world, of all nations. You know, these books are reference books. I'm not going to memorize all that. Trying to get them digitized as best I can. There's a lot of work I'm doing. I'm checking the weather. I knew in advance that the hurricane was going to hit Florida and then the southern states. I knew that a week ago. But nobody cares about those videos. They don't want to hear. They don't want to listen. They don't want to believe. And so time and time again, oh, there's a mad rush on the final day before it hits. And then it hits and people are dead. People's lives are ruined. Because they'd rather drink Drano. And the tornadoes. Venture Sky, this is where I get it from. I see them in advance. It's the earthquakes I don't see. Up Wolf Creek without a spiritual witness. And so yes, if something happens on the 3rd with Holland, or anybody else, it can be anybody else, it doesn't have to be Holland. Then yes, I am going to be more paranoid and concerned than I already am. I will not get over it. I will not be silent about it. Because your lives are in danger. And you're not listening. You're all waiting to see if we will be destroyed. You got your Drano ready to go. And so yes, I have an interest in entertainment, thanks to my mom. My brother had colic, and so my mom sat me in front of the TV. So TV became my educator. I have this whole long wish list of DVDs I need to buy, and then convert them to digital. I don't want that plus whole walls of DVDs. But I go to Graywell. They're the only place left that'll trade your DVDs, so I don't have to keep them or just throw them away. But yeah, I want a life. I know exactly what I want to do with my life, and it's just that I am not in a position to go out and find women that would be interested in me. Because I'm not going to the Mormon church. That ain't gonna happen. Don't want a Mormon woman. I've already had that experience. They don't want me. And so I'm not going to a bar. Women at a bar don't want me. They just want somebody for the night, just like men go to a bar just for the night. There is nothing in Utah for me to get to know a woman anymore. To spend time with her. To make sure she likes me. I already know I like you. And because of the damage of the church, sex education is ruined. And that ruins things. So yeah, I can't deal with a woman who's got issues about her own body and issues about whether or not I have issues, etc., etc. I see from NCIS and other movies and shows, and I just go, oh dear God, they weren't taught sex ed, were they? They don't get it. I saw it with Tony. They at least did it right. See, at the beginning, he's this playboy. Then Jean, which, yes, she's back, briefly. She's not going away. But he changed. He's not just undercover. He literally fell for her. He changed his life for her. She didn't change his life. She actually noticed he changed his life for her, and then she refused to accept that she saw that he changed his life for her. Women! Because she demanded that he say he loves her. She already knows. He changed. He wasn't looking at any other women. It was all about her in his life. And then because he was undercover, she can't believe him. And yeah, she can't. But he kind of blew it when she asked him, was any of it real? He couldn't say yes. He was undercover. It was a job. And so what happened after? He's a playboy again. But now he's getting old. So, I'm well aware of all this. I was robbed of a family to raise children of my own. And I'm well aware of the prophecies. And I don't want to have to leave it all in God's hands. Because I can't do it. I already know I can't do it. I have to be rescued from the great and abominable church. I have to be given a woman placed in my life who will actually like me. That's what happened with the second wife. I had already come to the reality I was never going to get married again. But I knew I needed to get married once I got free to protect me. And I sort of had one at the first residence of my freedom, but nope, she chose no. Though she was waffling. But then, boom, here, and there in West Valley. There she was on the first day. But gone. Because the church in the latter days were too much for her to handle. And my knowing Hebrew, kept the enemy from breaking down the hedge and saved my vineyard from the hands of the destroyer. So the Lord said unto one of his servants, go and gather the survivors. Go get Zion. Verse 55. The parable. So yes, it would be nice to have a woman who wants to do fashion shows for me. And yes, they have to be recorded. But that's the whole point. The woman has to understand she needs to want to do that for me, and thus replace my hobby of doing it with others. But if she's insecure about herself and suspicious of me and my intentions, marriage ain't gonna work. A relationship won't work. You technically don't need a marriage. When you're living together with somebody, when you're spending all your time with them and your life is with them, yeah, you're married. You don't have to have a license. That's just for tax purposes. And so thus exposed a weakness in the system as LGBTQ demanded equality. It has nothing to do with rights. That's just for tax purposes. But Christianity got their way, and so it was used to hurt Christianity. So now they're upset and want to reverse it all. Got that off my chest, and nobody's listening. So yeah, I'm doing it primarily for the archive records, but that's only assuming that there will be a Zion, because Joseph Smith says if Mormons just refuse, and thus ex-Mormons refuse, because it's you too, then everything will be utterly destroyed. It will be ether. It will be Moroni. Neither of them had wives or women in their lives. Just living in a cave. And so yeah, I can see if a destruction occurs on Utah, the 9/11 won't be for Utah. And so that's what it's still weird. He wants me dead. So maybe that would be it. That God, in order to preserve my life, will do it first and beat them. Not beat them with the baseball bat, but beat them in time. Do it on the 9th, on the Saturday. And so that then they'll realize, oh, okay, Utah's out. It's already been destroyed. So they'll pick another place instead. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But I can't see them saying, we're not going to go through with it. All those 200 years of planning and preparation and bribing and extortion and payoffs and no, I don't see them stopping. They want the end goal. The church wants their kingdom back. That's why they keep hoarding the money. That's why they keep buying up land around the world and in Utah. They want their kingdom back. They want to rule. They've got insider trading knowledge about what's going to happen. Because they're the ones who planned it. Said not just this, but the secret combination of America, the Council for National Policy. I'm still seeing the guys in the news that are from that organization. Still see the church in that organization. They get brought out for the big stuff to make sure it happens. Alrighty. Just gotta remember to put Hinckley's and Oakes' video clips in at the beginning. So everybody's just gonna watch that and definitely not gonna watch to the end here. But yeah, I mean, I would love to stay here. Make this my permanent place for the rest of my life. because I've got some stuff that I need to set up. I want to move the bed to this back wall here, and I've got to assemble a desk that's like this L-shaped one here. I need to set that up, get other things going. I want to get my other computer up and running so that I can play my Civilization 3 game. I don't expect to have a woman in my life. There is no way I'm involved in anything that would get me out of here. You know, there are things that I want to do and will do if nothing happens. But I went and became an anthropologist of the ancient Middle East. So I'm the only one who knows. So yeah, the protection racket even. The tithing. So the church, we have to talk about this now. Even though I'll make that a separate video on top of it. Is that along with Salt Lake City being Zion, they don't want it destroyed. They want to set the example as this one place on earth that's at peace, even though it's not. It's extremely criminal, extremely violent, especially lately. But nonetheless, the church is in denial. But the whole tithing issue is similar to that. They tell you tithing will protect you. It's a protection racket, like I said. And so Mormons are under the belief, I pay my tithing, so I'm safe. I'm full tithe bearer, I'm protected. From whenever, I don't need to know the date, because I'm protected, I paid my tithing. That's the trap. And other cult groups do it. That's the Heaven's Gate thing that I did for you. Is that Mormons? Mormons are being led as lambs to the slaughter. And whether that's the Mormons on the outside of Utah that are going to be slaughtered, or the Mormons in Utah, because I saw them setting it up to murder you here in Utah. I've done the videos to warn you about that. Not just with the housing crisis, to chase out the poor, locking up the poor in the shelters, to murder them, but other problems here. Poisoning of the air, the water, the soil, and the drought, and the fires, and the flooding. All of this could have been prevented. They chose not to because the church wants their kingdom back. They want to get rid of the weak. And so yes, even the video I'm going to do about the church membership, there are 10 million Mormons gone. And it was a little too soon for the church. And so they were expecting it to be in the final year, final latter days, to lose them. It was a decade too early. And so with tithing, on top of it, they were hoping to fool Mormons into believing that they wouldn't get burned, that they can just trust God. Just trust in God, you'll get peace, safety, refuge. Nothing will harm you, everything will be fine. Jesus. And then boom. And then they come out and blame you if you died. You weren't faithful enough. Or they'll pull the stunt of those who did die. They were righteous, and so they'll go to the celestial kingdom. No blessing will be withheld from the righteous, because they're now dead. The blessing of life was withheld from them. Did you not catch on to that? You women who are told that no blessing will be withheld from you if you're righteous, you will get a perfect man when you're dead. Don't worry. Just continue to sit on your couch. Be faithful. Keep paying tithing. That's just so mean and cruel. And women fall for it. I have heard that excuse by far too many Mormon women, not just from the singles ward, as they use it as an excuse to not pursue a guy. Nope, not good enough. I am righteous, and I have been promised by the living prophet of Jesus that if I am faithful, no blessing will be withheld from me. So no, we're not going on a date. You are not good enough. That's sad when women are going to die. It always pisses me off when a movie or a TV show murders the hot chick. What are you doing? All those horror movies. What are you doing? No! The guy is supposed to murder the guys who are having sex with the women, not murder the women too. But yeah, I did notice in the beginning there were people recognizing that they would only murder the sinners. So farce videos came out. And so yeah, the black guy always dies first. Yep. Entertainment I learned from. It's beyond entertainment for me. I am capable of learning from things. Because that's how I was raised. And I was raised to pursue a hobby of women's fashion. So yeah. Woman who gets involved with me, if she doesn't like it that I'm involved with women's fashion, she needs to be my women's fashion. All the time, every time. So that she dominates my life. She can't take away my agency. She can't take away who I am and demand I change. There are people who are demanding I change on this channel. That I be silent. That I only speak positive things about the church. Because they'd rather drink Drano. Alrighty, we're done. And of course, when I finished and shut it off, I then remembered, spending money. You know, knowing something's going to happen, it hasn't happened yet. And so, I can't just expect somebody to take me in out of the state of Utah and pay for everything, because I'm not going to be able to pay my share. But I still have to pay rent, still have bills to pay, still have food to buy. And that's the thing, is I've got to treat my life as if nothing will happen, but yet still be prepared at the same time if something does happen. And that was supposed to follow with the first responders thing, is that if nothing happens, I still need to pay my rent. I still need to pay my electric bill. I still need to buy food. And so, yeah, I'll just have to lose that money if something does happen. Again, it's one of those things that I have to live my life prepared, but not destroy my life if nothing ever happens. And so, yeah, it would be great to get out of here before it happens on 9/11. But if nothing happens, I got to be able to come back. And if something does happen, but not to the rest of the nation, such that the rest of the nation goes on and lives their lives, I've now got to figure out how to get a life in another location, as I'm now ruined far worse than I already am. Because I won't have the money that I'm getting here in Utah. I won't have a reserve fund for all the expense costs to get a place. Because to get this apartment, if those two women didn't keep their promise, as they tried not to, I would not have been able to afford to get in here. They had to pay so I can get this apartment, because the costs were too expensive. And if they didn't even pay to move from the storage facility that apparently was locked when I got there, I couldn't have paid for that. That ended up being $700+. If that other woman didn't pay for that like she promised she would, it was freezing. I froze out there. And so, this is a situation where, I already prepaid for Cobra Kai on the 12th. I have to continue to live my life as I normally would, but be prepared if something happens. And so, yes, I've got my first aid kit all ready to go. I have things set up to grab and go, so that the discs, at least, I can grab and go. I have to leave behind the books. I don't want to. But the church has been trying to keep me from all of this stuff. Not just try to murder me. Not just try to hold me hostage. They don't want me to have this stuff. I still have the evidence against them. But water bottles. I'm getting water bottles here. This is a brand new place. I know better than to drink the tap water. And so, I got water bottles. Got some frozen, ready to go. And so, knowing that there could be, I'm adjusting my food purchase for September. Doing less with frozen and refrigerated items, and making sure I have food that I can take on the go with me. This is the situation I hate, because it's out of my control. And it's not a situation of, oh no, I got to prepare for an earthquake that could happen, or Yellowstone exploding, or stars falling from heaven. Oh! You can't prepare for those. You can't prepare for hurricanes and get the hell out. You can't prepare for tornadoes. We have technology to warn us in advance. But not for an enemy of a secret combination that wants to overthrow the government to establish a monarchy. So thank God for Joseph and William Morgan for finding out the plot. Making sure, because of Senior, that the Book of Mormon got published, and that Joseph Smith's works also got published. So, we'll go from there. But if by chance you are listening and you're not from Utah, understand you may be required to be the first responders to come in and save Utahns. And if it's nuclear on 9/11 on Monday, stay away. Because that's what I learned as a first responder. You can't help anybody when you're dead. You have to go in fully prepared with the full gear, with the full equipment, so that you can save others. And so, yeah, it helps to be quick, getting dressed into the suit and getting the equipment, hose hooked up to the fire hydrant. The faster you can go, the quicker you can save people's lives. And we were the fastest in Canada. Under 2 minutes. That is the record.